I am under full cyber terrorist attack by Microsoft. They have a security feature that they introduced years ago that whenever I'm having problems with apps and programming and internet access and system failures and crashes, I can tie it directly to this security feature upgrade. It is not an upgrade. It is a virus malware that identifies false positives, as it's called, and goes on the attack on my system to shut me down. And so I've already tried saving this video twice, and it's still continually trying to upgrade during the process. It does not allow me to stop it. It does not allow me to reset a day and time. It's doing it today, and it refuses to cooperate. It is under full attack mode. So if you're able to see this in the video, I finally found a workaround. Whole day wasted.
Can't have a temple recommend.
God will not be mocked.
Are you a full tithe payer?
One of our brethren some years ago spoke of the payment of tithing as fire insurance. Nonetheless, the word of the Lord is clear that those who do not keep the commandments and observe the laws of God shall be burned at the time of his coming. For that shall be a day of judgment, a day of sifting, a day of separating the good from the evil. I would venture a personal opinion that no event has occurred in all the history of the earth as dreadful as will be the day of the second coming, as fraught with the destructive forces of nature, as consequential for the nations of the earth, as terrible for the wicked, and as wonderful for the righteous.
We do not say that all of the saints will be spared and saved from the coming day of desolation, from the atomic holocausts that surely shall be.
In the coming day, Jesus Christ will return to the earth as the millennial Messiah, or the second coming. Jesus Christ will govern from Old Jerusalem and the New Jerusalem, built upon the American continent.
Temple and Zion is established. That's really it. But if I just said, yeah, the sons of Levi are the temple in Zion, people would still interpret it with Christianity. So I had to go through this whole explanation and expose how to identify forged documents of Brigham Young. It's just incredible. So yeah, I do have the full, complete works of Joseph in the first draft. There are multiple drafts that need to be made to it, and then footnoting, referencing. That is eventually planned, but that's a Zion project. That's, oh my God, you can see how backed up I am. And that is just the physical stuff. There's digital stuff, files as well. And that is a massive project for me. Good God. But yeah, this is what the church is doing. They're going to destroy America this year to get their kingdom, but it's going to backfire on them. It always does. The pit that you dig for others will be the pit that you yourself fall into. And so the church, by thinking they're going to destroy America and get their kingdom back here in Zion, with Governor Cox handing over the keys of authority to the church, that's a backup plan. If they can't force the federal government to give it to them, then they're going to destroy the federal government, as 3 Nephi chapter 7 says, and then Governor Cox will be the king of Utah, and he'll hand over the keys of authority immediately. That's why they're pushing to have him on the ballot, Lyman. So that Governor Cox will hand over the keys of government to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So we need to put that at the beginning of the video. Travis Wayne Goodsell, with over 8K videos on the 2 channels, over the full latter days. Spoiler alert, latter days are over with, Mormons. You missed it. And so we're now waiting for utter destruction. You have chose not to go to Zion. You believed in Christian Jesus, even though it's non-Trinitarian. You still believe in the rest of Constantine's creed, which Joseph Smith himself says is an abomination because it is anti-Semitic. You've read your Book of Mormon, haven't you? Book of Mormon says it's Jewish, and the Bible is Jewish, not Christian. Joseph Smith himself has said numerous times, constantly referring to the Jewish law of the Jewish Christ prophecy, that we are supposed to be Jewish, not Christian. And so this ignorance has caused a lot of potential heartache in the coming day of utter destruction. And so this is why Mormons are clueless that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is the enemy Joseph always talked about. The secret combination the Book of Mormon talks about. The great abominable church, the Bible, and the Book of Mormon talks about, as well as Joseph Smith. And so, Mormons' failure to hearken to the Jewish Christ so that they can be saved and that they can have Zion, which will be the only place on the face of the earth that will be at peace, safety, and refuge with the coming utter destruction. We nonetheless have gone over the weekend 3rd Nephi chapter 7, which says I've got to keep doing videos for you. Despite Mormons not believing. And so interestingly, if you've been paying attention from the beginning, which the majority of you haven't, I think there's only one guy now who's been with me most of the time from the beginning. And in the beginning, until last year, at the end of last year even, I was purposely not revealing the identity of your Jewish Christ, because you are required to find him, to search for him, and to test, according to the prophecies and his words, to know by his fruits, not his outward appearance, not his comparison with Christianity, Mormonism, if he is who he says he is, or if he's false, like every single Christian is. The fruits of a false prophet is anti-Semitism. Therefore, every single Christian are false. Hey, that's exactly what Joseph Smith said too. First Vision, verse 19. Did you never read it? All the professors of Christianity are corrupt. So, yeah, I've pretty much covered everything I needed to do. My work is done. I've done the work I've been commanded to do from dreams. I had a dream in February 2017 about the upcoming mission. They didn't bother to tell me it was going to be this long. And if you're understanding, what do you mean? Dreams? They telling you stuff in dreams? Yeah. Hello, Aaronic priesthood. The keys of the ministering of angels. And so, sure enough, in the summer of 1986, when I become a priest in the Aaronic priesthood, I began having prophecy dreams, the ministering of angels. Thus, Joseph Smith's vision dreams are prophecy dreams with the ministering of angels. And thus you read in the Book of Mormon, and thus you read in the Bible of prophets who have dreams with the ministering of angels. And so, with my Irene dream on 9/11 this year, I was really excited because I knew that my mission would finally be completed. And here we are into double overtime. Yeah, I understand that. My home team, I may be in Utah, but they are always my team, win or lose. That is one of the types of videos that I've been doing on my channels, despite the YouTube terrorist attacks of you become a hater. And there are hate crime laws across this nation and in our Constitution. First, hate criminals against Joseph Smith. I refer you to verse 1 and give you a hint. Joseph's church, the Church of the Latter-day Saints. And what do my wondering eyes do appear? So I woke up this morning with section 128 and comment couple or a few years now, haven't it been? And was wanting some extra insight with the studying that he's been doing. Erase from your brain every interpretation that's Christian from the first creed of Christianity. And I've shown you the pretty pictures. Learn how to learn for yourself so that you don't get deceived by false Christian prophets. And so he had a number of requests for videos. And then I added 2 more as I'm now starting with Star Wars. As well as when I do videos, I produce fruits with my research and study. And so now I'm to the point where I've produced a whole multitudinal Earth's amount of fruit. And so anytime I go back into the scriptures to do a video for you, I get more seed for more videos. And so I've got that also. And so, because I woke up with section 128, we'll go over the comment that brought up section 128. And this is going to be for the sons of Levi question. And so, just to give you a heads up, he wanted one on economics. Was this mine? This was mine. But I do see Numbers 3354, which is Stanford's. No, economics is his. I have it up here at the top. Stanford comment on economics. To again go into more detail about the church's economic system versus what the scriptures say Zion is supposed to be run by, comparing and contrasting. So yeah, that is Stanford's. And then Alma 37, and that includes keeping records, Ezekiel 37, Gazelum, and the original 1835 Doctrine and Covenants, and the Ark of the Covenant, and stones and rocks. And then that one's mine, looking beyond the mark. And these 2 are mine. Okay. So, sons of Levi. Now, in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, we are told that the prophecies from Scripture are going to be fulfilled in the latter days with Zion, where the sons of Levi are going to offer up again an offering in righteousness. But the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which you are supposed to remove from your brain, also added genealogy. I am doing it, my genealogy, with baptisms for the dead and the whole temple rituals for our kindred dead. Nope, forged document. We're going to go over that. So first we need to go to the original scriptures, because I'm going to have to teach you how to identify a forged document. And so, of course, it's in the book of Malachi. Joseph Smith's second vision. Malachi comes to him, says his name is Nephi, and he's described as Emmanuel. Again, remember Willard Richards tampered with the Joseph Smith history. It is not Moroni. So, in chapter 3, verse 3, we get it to it. So, at first, and Joseph Smith's second vision says this: He doesn't quote it, so he doesn't quote, will a man rob God in verse 8. But this is where the church is exposed as forged document of section 128 of section 119, which was put in 1844. Yeah, with section 119. Yeah. Bingo. See, I'm also the kind of guy who himself was taught how to learn, using logical Socratic methodology, scientific-based theory development to produce theory tests for confirmation of fact, truth. And so I'm constantly testing my knowledge, even though I've gotten well over 3 for a confirmation of fact. I still keep doing it, running the tests when I don't need to. It's just a habitual practice. I'm addicted to confirming truth. Keep me away from the evil psychologists who don't use truth. They use what's called fallacy arguments. Everything that comes out of their mouth is an instant automatic fallacy argument, a falsehood. And they're now going to prison, and their treatment centers are getting shut down in the state of Utah, as they are getting sued by little teenagers for their hostage-taking, abuse, rape, and all kinds of crimes. And yet, still the state of Utah is in denial because the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints also has a psychological department, not just at BYU's education. Family services. And so the state of Utah, even though pyramid schemes are also illegal, we have USANA and doTERRA and others because they're run by Mormons who are following the criminal, corrupt practices of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. You know, King Noah syndrome. And so, behold, I will send my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me. Thus, Joseph Smith's second vision. But this is also the Jewish understanding of Messiah ben Joseph, who is to prepare the way for the coming of the Christ, of the Jews. This is where they get it from, among other places in Scripture. That there will be a forerunner Christ, Messiah, son of Joseph of Egypt. Thus, Joseph of Egypt is Messiah ben Joseph, because it's prophecy, not literal history. Deuteronomy 18:15 through 19 is the law of the Jews concerning the Christ. And over the weekend, I think it was yesterday, dropped the bombshell, baby. You dropped the bomb on me, baby. About Deuteronomy 18:15 being incorrectly translated from the Hebrew. In case you don't know, Joseph Smith in the King Follett sermon in 7th of April 1844 said that the biblical Hebrew text is also translated incorrectly. Article of Faith number 8, we believe the Bible to be the Word of God as far as it is translated correctly. There are some truths in there, even though it's not translated correctly, but there's the actual author's interpretation and from the correct translation. So it kind of helps to know the original translations. And so, the author of Deuteronomy, because, spoiler alert, as I find that because you're most likely brand new, I have to keep repeating information for you. And that lengthens out my videos. Because you're still in the process of thinking Christian. And so if I leave something out, without fail, I'll get a hater who sends me a hate comment and a death threat and a comment out of ignorance, bearing testimony of Christian Jesus, simply because they either did not hear me say what I've been repeating all these 8K plus videos, or they couldn't endure to the end of my video, where I do eventually get to it. And so, yes, the author of Deuteronomy gives you the naming pattern for the Jewish Christ. And thus why Samson is named Samson. Thus why Isaiah names him Emmanuel. It's because of the law. Other Jewish authors wrote their prophecies based upon the law. You can't violate the law. And so all Jews, even those of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, are obeying the Deuteronomic law. Thus why Jesus is the name and not Emmanuel for Matthew. In case you missed it in chapter 1. Can you imagine as a parent, you're expecting a child, and you're searching for baby name meanings, and you have a dream in which you are told in the dream that you are supposed to name the baby a certain name. And so when the baby is born, you give it another name. That's Matthew chapter 1. Except in the dream, I guess he's told to name him Jesus. But then the author says, this was done in accordance with the prophecy of an unnamed prophet, that his name shall be called Emmanuel. And then a Christian wrote in, God with us. Wrong. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Even Malachi knows it's the sun god at noonday. Emmanuel. And so, let me explain it. I have associative memory, and thus why things pop up for explanation. I can get sidetracked. But we're going over scripture, so I know where to start up again. So we can go back to the beginning. Shall suddenly come to his temple. And the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints confuses this with Elijah, because Elijah is also in here. But because the church imposes Christianity on section 110 in the Kirtland Temple on the third day of Passover, it is not understood what he's talking about. All of them are this one Jewish Christ. He just sees them with the different keys that he holds. The keys of Yahweh, or you know him as Jehovah, the keys of Moses, the keys of Elishua. Yeah, it's a misspelling. You see what the keys are in the text, and then you go to the book of Abraham to find that it's the gospel of salvation. And so salvation in Hebrew is Shua, Yahshua, Jesus, Shua, but it's El Shua, God of salvation, rather than the Hebrew God Yah. And then Elijah, which is the God Yah, rather than the God of salvation. God Yah in Malachi, which means messenger. So the author of the book of Malachi says, "Behold, I will send Malachi, and he shall prepare the way before me." And so it's not Malachi, but Emmanuel tells Joseph Smith, "I am a messenger sent from the presence of God." So God will send his messenger. This is why Joseph Smith had his second vision. It's not because it's plagiarism. It's because he's Jewish. Will suddenly come to his temple. This is the Zion temple. But, as I've been mocking Nelson, contend against no church but the church of the devil, mocking laughter, Isaac. Back in 2018, they announced that they were going to renovate and remodel the Salt Lake Temple and the grounds. And they said that it was projected to be finished for April Conference 2024. And because I'm the only one who knows this information, I'm the one who's been the only one to tell you why. Has to do with signs in the heavens, scriptural prophecies, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. And as we all know, Nelson failed. He failed. And then October conference came around, and he failed. And finally said in that conference, it's going to be another 2 years. But Jesus is coming in the coming day. He's going to rule over Jerusalem and in America. You know a false prophet by his anti-Semitism. They paid Islam to cause the war since October 7th with your tithing money. Laundering the money into a terrorist operation that has spread worldwide. Because once you know that the church isn't true, yeah, guess what else it means? What are they up to? Why are they hoarding money? What is this coming of Jesus? Since it's not the Jewish Christ. Since it's not real. Hamuzion from the First Creed. Oh, but we changed him into non-Trinitarian, so now he's real. No. Okay? And so, you need to know about the temple. The temple in Zion is not completed. It's not even built. We're not even there. So obviously, Joseph Smith tried to get Mormons to understand this and have the temple built ready for the latter days, but he knew that his church was going to be insurrected and he was going to be murdered. Because that's Messiah ben Joseph's prophecy. To set up the temple, set up the rituals of washing and anointing, to have Mormons become Christ's, joint heirs with Christ, take upon the name of Christ, which was yesterday's video, thanks to Idaho Chick, and her comment that inspired inspiration about new names in the temple. And so the prophecy is the tabernacle for the Feast of Tabernacles. And so, even though Mormons still are rebellious and stiff-necked and proud and arrogant and unbelieving, I'm able to teach you all things about the Jewish religion of Mormonism. And so it's not a complete, utter waste. Maybe. Possibly. Idaho chick says she's been saved with her family. Yay! Great! Where's my wife? Where is she? I just want one. Even the messenger of the covenant path. See how the church is imposing what isn't there? Whom ye delight in, behold, he shall come, saith the Lord of hosts. So, yeah, we're going to have a tent city, obviously. What we're looking at is the Mulek scenario, where Jerusalem gets destroyed, and Mulek and survivors come to America and found the city of Zarahemla. Again, Book of Mormon, not literal history. It's in the learning of the Jews, not Constantine's first creed. That's why it's okay to say that Sidney Rigdon's the major author now. He's dead. He's not going to be murdered and the Book of Mormon not get published. Because there are people looking for the original 116 manuscripts to murder whoever has them and destroy them. Because they were revealing super sacred combination secrets for the latter days. Thus 3 Nephi chapter 7 and the coming bloodbath election. You choose how to coup America, which will be denied by MAGA anyway if Harris by chance does win and they fail with all of the cheating, violence, and decertifications that they're already in the process of doing and our federal government isn't stopping them. Yeah. The national divorce. Marjorie Taylor Greene and others. Remember? Oh, you forgot? Yeah, so did the news, who reported it. That's the most frustrating thing, and maybe it's just because I have associative memory that I always remember this stuff. And I'm able to put it together in its context as I'm running theory tests in my brain. But, I mean, dear God, they're supposed to have people who reference what they already talked about to bring it up for them in their little meetings before their show. And yet, oh my hell. And instead I'm finding out that they're quoting from Battlestar Galactica reboot. All of them. All of the news. Both sides. Fox News too. Word salad, bloodbath. Oh my God, that's from Battlestar Galactica. But now I'm on Star Wars. Now the Empire takes over. Yeah, there's a reason why I'm inspired to watch certain shows. Because this is what's going to happen in the coming day, is the empire is going to rise up if America cannot stop them. And there will be rebellion, but any smart fascist organization knows to quell the rebellion immediately. And so you do that with brute force upon the people to cause fear, even upon people who are innocent, so that people know and understand, don't you dare start a rebellion. You know, like corporations do to prevent a union. And then also you need to have infiltrators who are one of the people, as they believe, and who spread entrapment to try to see if they can weed out those who want to be in a rebellion or who are in a rebellion, and then narc on them to the empire so that the empire can then destroy the rebellion, the underground movement, economy, government, and all. And so with our modern technologies, it's going to be extremely hard to have a rebellion in America. Going off-grid is going to be extremely difficult because of the modern technologies that our government has. And so we are looking at a very bloodbathian upcoming day. And so Joseph Smith adds concerning the day that shall burn as an oven, but here's a forerunner for it. Who may abide the day of his coming? Who shall stand when he appeareth? For he is like a refiner's fire and a fuller's soap. This has to do with the day that shall burn as an oven, the abomination of desolation. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints have been talking about nuclear holocaust. Now that we know that they're the enemy, you don't want to dismiss it as false or an opinion or a guideline, because they're the enemy. They're the ones causing all of this. This is part of their plan. Nuclear holocaust. Terminator is true. The rise of AI. Not a coincidence that it's right here in 2024 for the election bloodbath. And thus, AI has been spreading misinformation and disinformation, and our government still isn't stopping it, because it's a multi-trillion-dollar industry now. Isn't that great? We're not saving America because it's not profitable. People may lose their jobs. We have to murder people because people are going to lose their jobs. We have to have mercenaries because people will lose their jobs. Got to keep the economy going. And so here's the sons of Levi in this context. And he shall sit as a refiner and purifier of silver, not gold. But with silver, he will purge them as gold and silver. No. So this is what Mormons are faced with because of their unbelief. Utter destruction will come. Utah is not safe. Utah have already been making tampering election decisions to ensure that Trump will win in Utah, because they know there are a whole bunch more apostate, anti-Mormon, anti-Christ core whores who are going to vote for Harris. Even the news, I think it was NBC, did a whole video segment, which I did the video of, not last week, wasn't it? In which it's well known that there's a high concentration of Mormons in Arizona and Nevada, which are this year swing states. And there are Mormons who are female. Shocking, I know. And these women, even though they're Mormon and they've got to vote for Trump, MAGA Mormons for Trump, they're conflicted. Wait a minute. So if my baby miscarriages in the womb, I'm now a murderer? I go to prison? If I'm raped, and you need to understand that in the state of Utah alone, there were over thousands of rape kits that were not processed by Salt Lake City alone in that big old scandal. Thousands upon thousands of Utah Mormons get raped. And it's sad, because the church does not want sex ed to be taught. And they force Mormons not to even think about sex, because it's a sin. Even though that's the commandment in the Book of Mormon, is to have sexy thoughts and turn them into orgasms. The fruit of sexy thoughts are orgasms. And it's a commandment in the Book of Mormon. Adam fell, that man might be. It's right there. Look it up. How do you have children? It's not a stork. The first great commandment in the Bible is sex. Be fruitful. What do you think that means? I'm producing apple trees. I'm fulfilling the biblical prophecy in Genesis of the first great commandment. He created Adam and Eve, and they created apple trees. Producing fruit. No. And so this is in the context of the sons of Levi being purged. And so you need to understand that the Melchizedek priesthood ceased to exist on the face of the earth after the assassination of Joseph Smith in Carthage jail. The Melchizedek priesthood for the missionaries and other quorums are gone, because none of them are authorized, because Joseph Smith has to do it, and he's dead. So Brigham Young doesn't have authority to take over the church. That's not the process. And the Melchizedek priesthood knew the process. It was in the 1835 Doctrine and Covenants. Brigham Young knew about it. That's why we call it a sustaining vote, and not an actual vote that's in Section 107, verse 22, for 3 presidents, not 1 president and two counselors. I'm confused because sex in Utah is a 4-letter word, S-E-X, 4 letters. I'm not kidding you. I told you about Maudie before. Oh, Maudie, so cute, so dense. And so, this is where it comes from. Purify the sons of Levi with the upcoming destruction of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the fall of the great and abominable church. It's the only 2 things we're waiting for: the fall of the great and abominable church and an exodus to Zion. And since Mormons are wicked, didn't go, we have to wait for utter destruction and hope that we survive, so that we can fulfill prophecy and go build Zion, while the rest of the world descends into utter destruction, the extermination of mankind. Thus the part about Elijah, the hearts of the fathers to the children to the fathers. Else the whole earth will be utterly wasted at his coming. It's not talking about genealogy and baptisms for the dead. It's talking about the human race ceasing to exist on the face of the earth. A complete extermination event. And thus Zion is specifically prophesied and warned to be built so that the human race can continue. And apparently it's only going to be Idaho chick and her family. Yay, I saved 1 person. And so Idaho chick's new name is Eve. fruitful and replenish the earth that has been utterly destroyed. And that is interesting, but I'd have to check the two, because the word for fill is actually the word in Genesis with the creation. But I'd have to check the Noah story as well to see if it also is fill or if it's replenish. But it doesn't matter. We're not going to go over that. We're talking about the sons of Levi. Okay, and so, yes, there is no Melchizedek priesthood holders. The Melchizedek priesthood and Joseph Smith have been removed from your midst. We're done with Malachi. So I believe it's section 84. Moses removed. And oh my God, wrong word. Yep, there it is. Section 84. Whoops, too early. Go back. It'd be, yeah, 25. So we have the priesthood abideth forever after the holiest order of God, section 107, verses 2 through 4. It's the order of Son Amen. And so we use Melchizedek in place of it, which in Paleo-Hebrew, Melchizedek is king and high priest combined together as two words. And Amen in Paleo-Hebrew is the universal symbol of the sun for the sun god as the prefix determinative. The M is the Egyptian hieroglyph of high priest pouring water over his head. The N is a suffix determinative and part of the root word for Melchizedek, M and N. For king, if it's a person, kingdom, if it's a place. Thus Samson. His son king. And is from the Egyptian hieroglyph of a person with the crown on his head, northern crown technically. Though I guess you could also include the combo crown, but the prophecies indicate that he's educated in the northern kingdom. And so the northern education facility for the church is Rick's College. Did that yesterday. Plus, there's also a Norco High School, North Crown High School in California. He is prophesied to come from Southern California, where the Dodgers are. Go Dodgers. They won game 2 too, didn't they? I believe I saw that last night. That, again, back-to-back home runs for that caused the Dodgers to win that game too. So, yeah, go Dodgers. But, you know, Yankees, you got to give them credit. They used to have the Brooklyn Dodgers, Sandy Koufax. So, but the Yankees are a different team. But that's where I served my mission, was New York, New York. So I'm conflicted, but not too much. The Dodgers are my team. Win or lose. And so, yeah, it's kind of stupid for people to mock and laugh at those whose team loses. What are you doing? It's a sports competition. Why are you betting on it? My hell. See what it did to Pete Rose? You know, a legend in the game, and he bets against his team, and so now he's out of the Hall of Fame. I think he was in there for stealing bases, wasn't it? But anyway. versions. And so the Melchizedek priesthood holds the keys of the temple rituals of Zion. Mysteries from the Greek mysterion, which translated into English is initiatories, washing and anointings. We are washed to become high priests and high priestesses. Females too, can't leave them out. They're kind of essential. In fact, men are not really needed except for what's down there. Other than that, none of the rest of this matters in life. It's just that. The rest of this is only to keep that going. Women, however, are required for the whole thing because they are the source of life after the seed is planted in them. Men are worthless. Women are the most valuable of all creations and the most beautiful. They are the map to Zion. They are the symbol of the Nile. I did the videos. It was last week, wasn't it? Or was it 2 weeks now? I don't know. And so yes, it's abominable to have all these patriarchal abusers on women. And that's why the NBC, I guess, we're calling it NBC, whether it was or not, who explained the conundrum that Mormon women are facing for this election when they know who Trump is, and nobody gets this. Seriously. Trump starts off in 2016 by reading the poem about the girl and the snake. God, oh my God. You know who I was when you voted me into office. Dear God. Just, oh my hell. We're all doomed. And seriously, there's now a debate as to whether or not Trump is fascist. Go to his website. Right at the top. America First. The sign of the KKK, of which his father got arrested in Queens back in the day for a KKK rally. Oh my hell, we're all doomed because people are stupid. They're not doing their research to report on it. God. And then Megyn Kelly, oh my God, Megyn, what the hell? Megyn Kelly? What are you talking about? Bill Maher was talking to Russell Marion Nelson, Travis. You said so yourself. You did the video. I saw the picture. I'm well aware that Megyn Kelly is also an anti-trans. She's very opposed to trans, and so I thought that would be funny. But she was talking about fascism in the clip. Okay, and so it tells you that those initiatories are about the knowledge of God. Yeah, no duh, you get the name of God as your new name. You take upon yourself the name of God, Amen. And I showed you in the video I did that the Egyptians gave a new name of Osiris to everyone, because you, as a dead person, are now going through the judgment to the veil, where you have to demonstrate that you have passed your judgment on Yom Kippur. Oops. and then are presented before God on his throne in Zion to be allowed in. This is the context of Scripture when they talk about Judgment Day. And Christians have a different interpretation, so that needs to be understood. Christians are causing Armageddon because they think that they're righteous by being wicked, doing God's will by murdering people. And so, yeah, Jesus is never going to do anything. Christians are doing it, and they're going to say Jesus works through us. That's what they're saying about Trump. We're voting for Trump because Jesus is working through Trump to bring the kingdom of Jesus. I'm the chosen one. Somebody had to do it. You're not the Jewish Christ. Your daughter converted to Judaism because of Jared. Not you. You're putting on a little hat. You're not a Jew, Trump. You're not a Jew. He's an anti-Semite. You know, KKK. Found a hilarious picture of, I think I still have it in my files. There's really not much to this. There's 3 Nephi 24:3, which is the quoting of Malachi. And then Joseph Smith History 69, and that comes from Doctrine and Covenants 13, verse 1. And that's why 13:1 was put in the Doctrine and Covenants, is because of the history. So, but then section 128 is what we get to next. So, yeah. We're only in an hour. We've got 10 more hours to go for this video. Okay, where are ya? They're wearing pink. There's Trump posing with KKK. And come on, where are ya? There's Daddy and Trump. Daddy getting arrested. There they are. Blacks, gays, Jews for KKK. It's just, what the hell? And it's the same thing. You can put MAGA, you can put neo-Nazis, fascists, Trump. It's just, why, guys? I mean, seriously? Obviously, it's a joke, you'd think. And yet, so they're purple Klan's uniforms with the dunce caps on top. Gay, black, Jewish Klansmen for tolerance and understanding. Is that a SpongeBob SquarePants character? It's the guy who's wearing pants like at the beach because they're underwater, and it's just a straight up cone head like the KKK. I don't know the characters. I've only seen a couple of episodes of SpongeBob, and I knew enough from those 2 episodes that it's very sexual innuendo-y. For the kids who are not given sex ed. And no touchy-touchy. Okay, so now we can jump to section 128. Oh, God. We're all doomed. Seriously. It's right there for us to read from their mouths, and yet they lie and deny. I didn't say that. No, you're putting words in my mouth. Right here, I just quoted it. No, you're a hater. Oh my God, these are my peers, all groated up. I knew it back as a kid, and here they are, all groated up. Nobody's stopping them. Interesting. So, 1842, September 6th. Joseph Smith is claimed to have produced this revelation. And your first clue, even though this is Bruce R. McConkie, who put in these chapter headings, is that it's wrong. Let me read it for you and see if you can identify what's wrong. An epistle from Joseph Smith the prophet to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. What's wrong with that? Wrong name. But it could just be Bruce R. McConkie. He's made some errors before, like putting 1828 for section 10 instead of 1829. We'll leave that for you as homework so that you can check for yourself what difference that makes. And I will give you a teaser, section 4. Containing further directions. Further? What do you mean further? This is the first instance if it is actually Joseph's. Until you look at the Joseph Smith papers. Then you go, aha! On baptism for the dead. Dated at Nauvoo, Illinois, September 6, 1842. And it references the Willard Richards Tampered History of the Church, Volume 5, pages 148 and 153. The church has stopped publishing that collection because the Joseph Smith Papers is out. And they won't make any of the corrections that need to be corrected. And so Mormons think, well, there's nothing new. They'll tell me if there's something new in the Joseph Smith Papers that they made available for all of us to study and research, if we merely but read it. And so, yes, you still don't know the changes that need to be made, the fraud of this church, because the church isn't indicating that you need to. They're not confessing. No, duh. Bad people never confess that they're bad. You not figured that out? Okay, so we're done. It's the sons of Levi. And so the Aaronic priesthood is all that's available. I didn't finish that, did I? Oh my hell. You didn't tell me. See, I get sidetracked. Key of the knowledge of God. Because in the mysteries, oh my God, I didn't even finish that. Come on, guys, help me out. Keep me on track. Nothing's written down. And so, high priest, high priestess, king, and Krista. King and queen. Christ, Krista. Christ, anoint. King, anointed. Christ. That's the Jewish understanding, not the Christian understanding. Only Jesus is the Christ. Really? So Constantine's not a Christ? As an emperor, crowned and anointed as such? You're really going to branch off that way, huh? Deny your founder. Good job. Just like Mormons did to Joseph. And sure enough, I'm willing to bet you Christianity will not talk about the 1700th anniversary of the first creed of Christianity. They can't. It would expose them as frauds. having turned the Jewish scriptures into Christian. Yep, I'm willing to bet, just like the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints did not speak at all for the 200th anniversary of the second vision. And yet already they're saying that Nelson is going to live for the 200th temple dedication in Thule. They're all about 200s because 2020 was the 200th anniversary of the first vision as literal history, and Nelson demonstrated how to translate using the rock and a hat. Joseph Smith had nothing to do with the translation of the Book of Mormon. No composition whatsoever. Cindy Rigdon and Senior had to rewrite the 116 pages, and Senior in 3 and 10. And so, in those ordinances, where you become a Melchizedek, high priest, and a king, taking upon yourself the name of Amen, thus the power of godliness is manifest. That's why you got those ordinances, because you have passed your judgment. It's 42 affirmations that was turned into 10 commandments by the Jewish authors. I have not done this and not done that. I have done this and I have done that. And so without these ordinances, the authority of the priesthood, the power of godliness, is not manifest unto men in the flesh. Amen to the authority of that man. Bye-bye, Brigham. Bye-bye. So without this, no man can see the face of God, even the Father, and live. Because I'm just so pale. No, it's talking about Judgment Day, the day that shall burn as an oven. It's not about Jesus coming from outer space and burning people with his presence. No. They that come shall burn you. You don't go to Zion to see his face. That's what it's talking about. Mormons don't have the authority of the Melchizedek priesthood after the death, murder of Joseph Smith, your founding Christ. Moses plainly taught this to the children of Israel on his YouTube channel. And yet, harden their hearts. He's prophesying here, guys. It's me, the one like Moses, one mighty and strong. Emmanuel, you should have run the tests. Because now, after all these years, I'm now being bold. 3rd Nephi, chapter 7, says I'm going to do it, and be bold. Sure enough, I did it. I'm bold. Mormons are hardening their hearts, can't endure my presence. You're ugly. Church is true, because you're ugly. Therefore the Lord, in his wrath and his anger, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the enemy does it. The pit which they dug for you is the pit they're going to fall into. And you will not enter into Zion, my rest, while in the wilderness of Deseret, which rest is the fullness of his glory, where you become joint heirs. You get a place to live, and it's beautiful. You know, Idaho chick talked about what places she would like to live in, and yeah, Zion is perfect for her. But without Mormons to build it, there will be no Zion. And so Idaho chick is going to have to be Eve with her family. And so Moses is taken out of their midst. Whether it's to Zion, it doesn't look like it. It's more like Coriantumr, Ether, and Moroni. after the utter destruction. I'll be living in a cave. Idaho chick will be living up the high life with her family, all by themselves. Great. Yeah, try telling that to your kids, Idaho chick. The ones who don't have anybody to mate with. But I don't like my sister. I was in a movie theater with my mom and my baby sister Tabitha, 17 years younger than I am. And somehow the conversation came up about the origin of Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel, and I was explaining how they had to marry their sisters, and that's being taught in the Egyptian documents of the origins of the Egyptians and thus mankind. And my sister was grossed out. But you can't impose our morality on a situation of extermination. It's awful. But yeah, it's also, the Book of Mormon warns of the corruption and in graphic detail of what is about to happen. You know, you've heard of MAGA people talking about it. Yeah, when it all comes down to it, I'd eat people. For my survival, I'm gonna eat you. If it's between you and me, I'm killing you, and I'm gonna eat you. It's already out there. Just like the Book of Mormon warned you, and it's out there. God. Come on, guys. Trust the Book of Mormon. Just don't turn it Christian. Seriously. I have no idea who the guy was. I'm not sure if it was the guy who got sued by the school because of his defamatory remarks about how it never happened, the school shooting. Alex Jones. I think it might have been Alex Jones. Don't quote me on that. I don't know, but he's the type of person who would do that kind of thing. Maybe he has, and it's not him. So he's another person who's talking about eating people when it all hits the fan for this coming bloodbath, purge. And so, yeah, you need to be scared when the series of The Purge is very popular. And Squid Games, or Quid Games, whatever it's called, isn't it Japanese that it originated from? It became a short-lived fad here in America. And you have the other shows, Mockingjay series. I don't think it's Mockingjay. I think that was one of the latter movies names. But yeah, that whole concept of fascism takes over and people have to fight for survival. Those kinds of shows have been cropping up lately. And people are loving it. And they're wanting more of it, and they're wanting to role play it. You know, just like with sex, you get S&M movement, shades of black or gray or whatever it's called, has people are wanting to hurt other people for sex pleasure. What the hell? And then you hear about that, was it the governor, or I think it was the governor of Missouri. It was a government official in Missouri who got caught having kidnapped and tied up a woman in his basement. What the hell? Is it because she didn't vote for you? I ran the check to find out if he was Mormon. He's not. We have our own here in Utah who do that kind of stuff. And much worse. Dear God, much worse. Got a husband running over his wife at the airport parking lot with the vehicle. We've got wives who are murdering their husbands and then going to trial without the body of the husband. Don't you need evidence to proceed with a case? No, not in the state of Utah. You just need spiritual witness feelings. I feel that they murdered him. See, he's gone. Just like the gold plates, they're gone. So therefore they're true. I feel it. The Book of Mormon on trial with no plates. That's a book, in case you didn't know. Somebody wrote a book, The Book of Mormon on Trial. Running through a hypothetical court case. And it's all wrong because there are no evidence. There are no plates. Therefore, case dismissed. This is a frivolous argument. You need evidence to present a case. There are no plates. Therefore, gotta figure out some other explanation to explain the Book of Mormon. Try the Jews. Okay, so Moses is taken out of the midst, and the holy priesthood also. And thus the lesser priesthood holds the keys of the ministering of angels. And so you don't need the Melchizedek priesthood for the Aaronic priesthood. And so thus came the one mighty and strong, the man like Moses. Okay, section 28, dear God. Okay, so first of all, we have to do a fact check on Bruce R. McConkie. Was it Willard Richards who put the name of the church, or was it in History of the Church, Volume 5? If it is in the History of the Church, Volume 5, you need to understand that that is William Richards who put the name Jesus Christ in. And thus already tampers with the document as either being by Joseph Smith, but Willard Richards put a whole bunch of crap in there, just like he did his history, or it's all a forged document. And so, as we begin to go over it, there's 25 verses. It says, "As I stated to you in my letter before I left my place, that I would write to you from time to time and give you information in relation to many subjects." Oh, how convenient. Will Joseph Smith do this? No. This was put in Brigham Young's Doctrine and Covenants in 1844, along with section 119 on tithing, which is a complete violation of all scriptures, but includes Malachi. Will a man rob God? Okay, understand this in its context. And thus the temple, you have to pay now to go to the temple. When Isaiah says, "Come buy without money and without price," referring to the temple rituals in symbolic form as food and other necessities of life. Thus the bishop's storehouse, That's the economy one that I need to go over with you. And so I now resume the subject of baptisms for the dead, and that's why Bruce Honor Conkey put what he put. But where's the original? There's a footnote here for 1A, TG, baptism for the dead, TG, genealogy and temple work. Oops. There is no original document. I mean, we could use section 127, verse 6. That's in verse 2, footnote A, which a recorder. Really? You're going to go with that, are you? Verily, thus saith the Lord concerning your dead. Ah. Okay. When any of you are baptized for the dead, let there be a recorder. Okay. So, section 127, September 1st, 1842. Instructions on baptism for the dead. And so, we would expect that this also was put in Brigham Young's 1844 Doctrine and Covenants. Not the Community of Christ, nobody else. Nobody else knew of this. Just Brigham Young. It appeared in his Doctrine and Covenants in 1844. Understand this. Nobody else knew of it. A letter to the church, and the church didn't know about it. Only Brigham knew about it and put it in 1844's Doctrine and Covenants of his. Not the Community of Christ, not James Strang, nobody else. And we can confirm this by going to the Joseph Smith Papers and looking at the 1835 or 1844 Doctrine and Covenants of Brigham Young. Even though I don't think it would have that, you'd have to do an extra search for the 1844 Doctrine and Covenants. I noticed that archive.org has been shut down for quite a while now. Interesting, because there's a lot of church stuff that could be obtained in PDF form that way, but they were also screwing up their website by requiring people to rent stuff that shouldn't be rented. But nonetheless, oh right, it's in this other file for this video. There's a list of code names. That's for the Gazelum video. Seriously, I didn't do it? Crap. Okay. I'm telling you, seriously. In 2014, I get a computer, get it set up. It was super fast, beyond super fast. The Elders Quorum president that was helping me figure it out and suggested the security system for it said, wow, this is a very good computer for $40. It was. The person was getting rid of it and they were selling it for $40 and I just happened to have $40. And but seriously, Google? And so when algorithms began, I noticed that my systems, because I have multiple computers that I was using online back in West Valley, all of a sudden were slowing down. It was no longer fast. I was no longer able to run multiple programs, multiple sites at the same time. Algorithms were purposely slowing down processing and production and use. And that's not cool. You're supposed to improve, not devolve. And now with AI, with the algorithms, it's even worse. I can barely run a single thing as like you just witnessed my delay time for loading Google Chrome. But, dear God, yeah, Section 127 also, 1844 edition, along with Section 103. See, he mingled legitimate scriptures with his forgeries. Likewise, in 1876, he mingled legitimate scriptures with forgeries. Gotta pay attention. So you need to know the difference between Joseph's actual revelations and, which are technically prophecies, Section 103. What is that? Yeah, the man like Moses, the going to Zion. And it has to do with Section 101. It's a continuation of it, just like 19 July 1840 that Brigham Young refused to publish. So, yeah, there's Section 119, Section 105, Section 112, Section 124, and Section 135. All of these are now in question. Section 135, I believe, is Brigham Young saying that Jesus is telling us to go into the desert to wait for him, to build Zion. And apparently none of the Mormons who went with Brigham Young have ever read their Matthew 24. If a false prophet tells you Jesus is in the desert of Utah, don't go. Excuse me. So yes, even though Wikipedia has this, and people want to claim that Wikipedia is therefore false, fake news, so that they can claim the church is true, you can confirm this yourself. Find the 1844 Doctrine and Covenants. You want PDF? They do have it. Joseph Smith Papers has Doctrine and Covenants, 1844, page 0. So there it is. So I already have it in my files, but sure enough, the Joseph Smith Papers has it as well. And they put it with Joseph Smith's papers rather than Brigham Young's papers. And so you can view the entire manuscript by clicking on the highlighted blue view entire manuscript, and there it is. The Doctrine and Covenants of the wrong name of the church, carefully selected from the revelations of God by Joseph Smith, president of said church. Nope, he never filed articles of incorporation. Brigham Young wouldn't either until 1852 for his name of the church. That's how you can tell the errors. And so, yeah, they left in the Lectures on Faith, which was by Sidney Rigdon, I believe. But nonetheless, has a lot of good stuff in there, despite his Campbellite baptism mingled with Mormonism. And it helped me understand the doctrine of faith from the Book of Mormon as well, because my knowledge of the Book of Mormon, when I read through it, I went, oh, okay, yeah, okay, so I see how this is supposed to be worded this way, and I did a revision of the Lectures on Faith when I was a kid. Real simple and easy to do, because of the Book of Mormon. And so, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all if I see a lot of Sidney Rigdon's Baptist Campbellite revisionism in the Lectures on Faith because of that. Knowing who the author is kind of crucial. And so, when you go through the Joseph Smith Papers, you see that in 1838, early in the spring, after the failure of the bank because the Danites sabotaged it, the Kirtland Safety Society was established in 1837, and Danites were taking out loans and not paying them back, and thus the collapse of the bank. And Joseph Smith was sued by 17 different people, and he managed to get out of jail for that. And so then Plan B of the Danites then got put in motion that year in 1838. And Brigham Young comes out with a forged document, revelation of Joseph Smith, saying Brigham Young can go back and stay with his family and not preach the word of the Book of Mormon, that the church will take care of your family. No. Now Brigham Young is being told to go spend time with your family as a plausible deniability for the upcoming war that the Danites would cause in election fraud, decertification of the election, a civil war with a bloodbath, and burning. Exact same pattern. These Danites are in charge of it, and that's why I've been doing my videos explaining this for all these years. And so the Danites are also talking about baptism for the dead. Now remember, they're Christian. Jesus is not the future Jewish Messiah. Jesus is now Christian. And so it's now literal history that he died and rose from the grave. This is not Jewish understanding. The Jewish author did not mean that. And so baptisms for the dead is not understood from the New Testament passage that we claim it means. Else why they are baptized for the dead? If the dead rise not at all, why are they then baptized for the dead? It's not baptism for the dead. It's baptism for you for when you die. The Osirian rituals. That's the Jewish understanding. The rituals that Joseph Smith is talking about in section 84, to become Christ with washings and anointings. And the baptisms are when Osiris was murdered by his brother, and his body was chopped up into 14 pieces for the 12 tribes of Israel. Joseph got a double portion, so Ephraim and Manasseh become the 13 tribes, and then Dinah is a female, and so she's kind of missing something down there, and thus 14 tribes. It's technically 13 boys and the one girl, Dinah, in the Egyptian documents. That's where that comes from. And his body is scattered throughout all the world, chopped into all those pieces. And so Isis then gathers the elect with the keys of Moses from the 4 quarters of the earth to gather them back to Zion, as Horus would restore the throne, casting out Lucifer, Set, who would become Satan in Paleo-Hebrew. The adversary, Satan, S-T-N. N refers to king, King Set. Remember? Jews don't know it, because I deciphered Paleo-Hebrew, not the Jews. Christianity got a hold of them. And so the sacraments that we have of the Last Supper, there's a reason why it's the Last Supper, because it's the latter days. It's the whole point and purpose of the Jewish author. He's talking about the Christ fulfilling the atonement, Kippur, atonement, the writing of the fulfillment of fruit. I have not come to destroy the law, I have come to fulfill the law. And so atonement is completely different. It's not about resurrection from the dead. It's about the Christ coming to save Mormons from death, of utter destruction. And so the sons of Levi are the Mormons who only have Aaronic priesthood authority, which is pretty much nothing but to be slaves. drones, barbecuers. We're having lamb for dinner. And so, yeah, you, as a couple, both sealed, both kings and queens, high priests and high priestesses of your initiatories, after being baptized, John the Baptist being Joseph Smith, and then 19 July 1840, he exposes Brigham Young by using the Last Supper as his symbolism, referring to the latter days as the enemy would be Brigham Young's church. Sure enough, here we are. The church is involved in everything that's going on to overthrow the government, cause the bloodbath of the second coming of Jesus, so says Oakes. Two little missionaries, as a sister missionary recorded him in March 14th, 2020. And so, as a couple, you have sex to give birth to babies, and the firstborn birthright blessing son is going to be the Christ of one lucky couple through the descent of Hiram, the brother of Joseph. Joseph Smith is the Christ, Messiah ben Joseph, and Hiram, being the patriarch, the firstborn birthright blessing son, after Senior is dead, is the one through whom would be the Christ in the latter days, a Mormon. And so we partake of the sacrament in remembrance of the coming of the Christ through one lucky couple. It's already happened. He's already here. But that's what you do. You eat his body, the broken bread of Osiris, chopped up into the 12 tribes of Israel, as Mormons are the new Israelites, and you drink his blood in remembrance of the coming of the Christ who would be a baby. And so you eat it because the constellations are set up so that the planetary celestial bodies go through the mouth and out the back end. Thus, the dung beetle is portrayed as pushing the sun god at noonday across the sky, because the dung beetle literally takes dung and pushes it through the sands of the Sahara Desert as it gathers the sand on it, as it gets rolled up, just like a sun moving across the heavenly sky, for that reason. And so thus, childbirth is not through the mouth, but baby is born. That concept. So it's talking about the revelation of his day and hour coming, as well as the prophecy of him being an immortal baby through a couple who are Christ and Christa, who have received their initiatories, the key of the mysteries of the kingdom of Zion, to know God as being God. That's how you know him. He's just like you. But the church doesn't want you to know this. Okay? And so this is where Christianity screws up this whole concept of baptism for the dead. You could have just watched Superman and listened to Marlon Brando say, the Father becomes the Son becomes the Father. That's Jewish, by the way. They were Jews who created Superman. Just like there are Jews that created Star Wars. You gotta know and understand, because they're trying to indoctrinate you into biblical knowledge. Whereas Left Behind is for Christians. Murdering Jesus, kidnapper of the righteous, holding them hostage, and then murdering the rest. He doesn't want a ransom unless he's Mormon. Mormons have to pay a ransom money. That's what 119 does. is that now you are not only paying to go to the temple, you are paying to baptize your dead and do the temple ordinances for them, and you can't do it unless you pay tithing. You cannot save your dead ancestors without paying tithing. Oh God, that's abominable. This is how you know these are forged documents of Brigham Young. It's right there in the Joseph Smith Papers in 1838, as they begin to start preaching this. And you know them by the naming of the church. Blatantly obvious. When it's Joseph Smith, it's the Church of the Latter-day Saints. When it's the Danites, it's the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Blatantly obvious. But the church won't let you know about it. Church is true. Nothing to see here. Move along, keep paying your tithing. Feel good about it. And so yes, there's prostitution, sex trafficking with Section 119, a whole bunch of crimes. I'll have the whole list in that box now. I wanted to retire. It's just all criminal, from verse 1 to the last verse in Section 119. And here you go, here's another of the crimes that need to be added to that list. You're being extorted for your kindred dead to save them. And so this is why the church is gathering names of those who have lived on the earth, to extort people to pay the church. To say, if you want your kindred dead saved, you got to join our church and pay. And we can do the ordinances for you, even though they've already been done, because we've been stealing the names through the extraction program and providing them throughout the temples around the world for when people come without a family name. And that's been a problem when people do convert to the church and they start doing their genealogy, and then they go, wait a minute, my ancestor's been done already. And so the church had to come out with a new policy. You can't do any work for people until after 110 years, I think. Because very few people live to be 110. And so, yeah, this has been a big problem in the church. And then you get Mormons who want to do Holocaust victims and Michael Jackson and Mickey Mouse. And literally, I've seen the name, Mickey Mouse and Michael Jackson. I was there at the desk when they showed me those names in the Jordan River Temple. And my mom, you know, she's big on genealogy, specifically her family, even though she's done some because of the temple work needing to be done on my dad's side too, but she never liked my dad. She got married out of duty. And so she ran a temple ready program, and all the way back, and her line has the false genealogy going back to Adam on numerous lines. And when she ran a temple ready program, Jacob, work not done. Sorry, Jacob, you went through all that usurpation for nothing. Yep. My mom should have kept that card, made a plaque of it, but she gave it back to the temple so that it could be removed from the system. That may be the title for this video. Jacob, son of Isaac, temple work not done. Nobody will understand what I mean because it's an hour and 44 minutes into the video. So I'll have to find the picture of the card do that and then do some adjusting. Okay. And so this is why you know when there's a Christian element involved, it's wrong. It's not Joseph's. If it's Jewish, yeah, you can rest assured it's Jewish. And so you then see the mingling as we keep reading into section 128 as the quoting from Revelation 20 verse 12. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God, and the books were opened, and another book was opened, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books, according to their works. They're right there. It's section 85. And scanning over, I do not see section 85. See, they're purposely not letting you know the truth in the footnotes. They're purposely doing TG, salvation for the dead, and their Christianized Mormon interpretation of the scriptures. And so they put Revelation 20 verse 12 and Doctrine and Covenants 127 verse 6, which is repetitive. You should have done it earlier. Yeah, they would have revised this when they revised it in the 2000s, when I was a part of that project, to remove duplicates in the same chapter. And then TG, Book of Life. And then they're putting TG, Priesthood, Power of, TG, Priesthood, Keys of, TG, Sealing, TG, Ordinance, TG, Dispensation, TG, Authority, TG, Priesthood, Authority, TG, Jesus Christ, Jehovah. Right? Jesus is not Jehovah. Different names, different meanings, different keys. Went over that with you already. And so, yes, it has to do with Zion. Those who get an inheritance are found written in the books according to their works. Their works need to be righteous, thus they get to go to Zion. If they're Danites, no. And so last year, right before Thanksgiving 2023, Nelson rushed out the ledger of the Danites. And if you don't know what a ledger is, it's a secret book of financial transactions other than the legitimate financial transactions ledger that is given to the IRS. It's an off-the-books thing. And criminal organizations in the early 1900s and even into the 1800s apparently, because Brigham Young was doing it, would have their separate ledger of those who are loyal and faithful to them and who are keeping up on their extortion racket dues. And so, yes, that book contains all of those who are Danites. Mendenhall, Cox, Lee are among those listed. Stewart, and Curtis, they're all listed as Danites. They were all involved in the 1838 war that couped Joseph Smith and got him locked up in Liberty Jail, framed and blamed, as Brigham Young took over the church. Okay, and then we have and so the nature of this ordinance consists in the power of the priesthood by revelation of Jesus Christ, that whatsoever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. That's Elijah. See, they screwed that up. Loosed on earth shall be loosed in heaven. I mean, negligence shall your dead be judged. Seriously? Judging the dead? Dear God. With the extortion racket of section 119. And so Matthew 16 is now being quoted. And I say also unto thee that thou art Peter, and upon this, see, they're trying to claim their authority as being the keys of Peter, James, and John here by misquoting this. Yep. See, the keys of Peter, James, and John are for the planting of seed, the Word, the Book of Mormon. The keys of Moses is for the gathering, the reaping, the separating the wheat from the tares, the sheep from the goats, the fruit, the completion of fruit, harvest time, gathering. Big difference in keys. And so Peter, James, and John don't have the keys of running the church. Moses does. Section 107, verse 91. And here they're misquoting Matthew 16 to try to justify it. Notice that they don't use the Joseph Smith translation from John. I believe it's John. That Joseph Smith put in the Joseph Smith translation that Peter as rock, which would be a Gazelum video topic for you, Stanford, if you're listening, that has to do with seer in Egyptian, 2 eyes of Horus. And that's what it's talking about, that the church is to be run by a seer. And even though Peter is the Egyptian word for seer, it's a Jewish author, and it depends on the context in which he's talking about, because Peter in the gospel stories is the betrayer, Judas. He denies the Christ 3 times, and the cock crows. Jesus is asking him, do you love me? No. And Jesus has to say, feed my sheep. And get behind me, Satan. You know, all these things. Peter is the bad guy, he's the villain in the gospel stories. And it's not until the Acts when now he's the good guy. But Jacob, the brother of Jesus, James in Greek, is now running the church. Jesus is dead, and the usurper is running the church. And Peter, the rightful seer, is suppressed. See the difference in the Jewish authors? Depending on the context of the story. You need to identify who the protagonist is and who the antagonist is. Just like you would for theater class or drama class, whatever it is to go into a Hollywood movie. So that you get the interpretation correctly for the prophecy of the latter days. And so now that you know that it's not supposed to be Christian, when you see these Christianizing being done, you know this is a forged document. That they're purposely manipulating this to fool Mormons. And are using legal terminology, summum bonum, and where is it? Propria persona, and then summum bonum. Joseph Smith didn't do that. But again, they're trying to show that Joseph Smith has been arrested, so they're actually tipping their hat with a tell by putting in legal terminology of Latin, knowledge of facts relating to the salvation of the children of men. No, it's about salvation in Zion. and honor, immortality, and eternal life. That's why they're talking about after we're dead. That's why it's spiritual witness feelings rather than producing the results of the word in the flesh, so that other people can judge you. And then he goes over 1 Corinthians 15. Howbeit, that was not the first which is spiritual, but that which is natural. Afterwards, that which is spiritual. The first man is of the earth, earthly. The second man is the Lord from heaven. As is the earthly. God, who wrote that? And it's not the original author. This is the translation of it. So it's the translator's lingua franca. The records on earth below in relation to your dead, which are truly made out, and tying it to the keys of Elijah, and thus the keys of the kingdom. Oh, Moses. Keys of Elijah are for making you the God Yah. And the name of Yah is Sun God, Ishmael. And in Deuteronomy 18 from Paleo Hebrew. And so then they quote 1 Corinthians 15:29, else what shall they do which are baptized for the dead? If the dead not rise at all, why are they then baptized for the dead? That's the Egyptian temple rituals. Has nothing to do with baptizing the dead who are already dead. It's the person who is dead who goes through the rituals of the prophecy of the latter days going to Zion rather than being utterly destroyed with the burning. And utter destruction. And here they do quote Malachi, 5th and 6th verses of the last chapter 4. I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the dreadful day of the Lord. He shall turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the children to the hearts of the fathers, lest I smite the earth with a curse. And Joseph Smith adds, they're ignoring the Joseph Smith history that Joseph Smith added here. Here's another clue for you that this is a forged document. Ignoring the Joseph Smith history that got published in 1842 as well. And again, did Joseph forget the name of Jesus? No. Did Joseph forget that he added, they that come shall burn you, lest the earth will be utterly wasted at my coming. So this is another tell that this is a forged document. Plainer translation. I might have rendered a plainer translation to this, but it is sufficient plain to suit my purpose as it stands. It's like, no. So they're purposely removing the 1838 history that Joseph got published in 1842, which, again, September 6th. So we gotta check. 2 hours? I did not intend this to be 2 hours. When did the Joseph Smith history get published in the Times and Seasons? March 15th. See, the Times and Seasons is long since gone, since 1844, 2 years ago. They don't have the internet. You know, stuff gets printed, it gets destroyed and lost. It's a newspaper. People use it to wrap fish and meat. And so, wow, Yeah, this was bold of them to do, assuming that Mormons had forgotten about it or didn't read it. So Joseph Smith already got it published with the added information, and then he just comes out 6 months later and says, it's now this. Again, an oopsie on the part of the evil people, evil disposed and designing militant persons against Joseph. Oops, you committed a boo-boo just like you did in section 117 about the Revelation 12 secret combination group, talking to David Whitmer and Adam on Diamond, which was a boo-boo. Oops, you just confessed this is a forged document. Nicolation band. Yeah. Fascinating. So, glad tidings from Cumorah, Moroni, an angel from heaven. See, they're already rewriting the Joseph Smith history. Because in the history it's Nephi, published in 1842, March 15th. We did it live. And yet here it is again. He's saying, nope, it was Moroni. Second Nephi, Doctrine and Covenants 27, verse 5, mistakenly put Moroni. Joseph Smith history corrects that as Nephi. And then, boom, they forge a document and say Moroni again, to ignore and deny the Joseph Smith history of 1838, because it's Jewish. And Brigham Young didn't want it published. That's the thing. It was only the other Richards, who was the mission president in England, who joined later on in the 50s and had the pamphlet with him still, with the Pearl of Great Price and other stuff. And it wouldn't get officially incorporated as Mormon by the Brighamites until John Taylor. And then it would get included as a book of scripture, and then now we have it as the Quad. But otherwise, Brigham Young wanted nothing to do with it. And you see this disdain for that history in 1838. Because it's the wrong name of the church, it's Nephi instead of Moroni, and you see that they're purposely going against it in this section. This is by far a false document, a forged document. And so here's, the voice of the wilderness of Fayette, Seneca County, declaring 3 witnesses to bear record of the book. The voice of Michael, the banks of the Susquehanna River, detecting the devil when he appeared as an angel of light. This is not Joseph. The voice of Peter, James, and John in the wilderness between Harmony, Susquehanna County. Harmony, north of Pittsburgh. If you've been following and you know that video, those videos. And Colesville, Broome County on the Susquehanna River, detecting themselves as possessing the keys of the kingdom. Yeah, no. They're trying to usurp authority for Brigham Young to justify him as the president of the 12 with the keys of Peter, James, and John to sow seed, which they were, with other men's wives. Nicolation band of abomination passing around the wives and a gangbang orgy fest. Wow, this is incredible. See? More seed from the fruit that I already have obtained as I go over scriptures again. It's just incredible. And so, yes, the tribulation of this Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Oh my God. Giving the priesthood, giving line upon line, precept upon precept, quoting from the Book of Mormon, but taking it out of context to justify. And then they use King Emmanuel. Ooh, they know, and yet they replaced him with Jesus. Yep. So let's read this one. It's verse 22. Courage, brethren, and on to the victory. They are going to overthrow me. This is why they're scared of me. This is why they did the church news thing about Nelson is going to dedicate the 200th temple. They waited until after Thursday when they had their meeting to make that up because they were afraid somebody might die. And so then I did the Curse of Joseph video in preparation for the coming of the curse. Oh, fascinating. And so, yeah, they're cooing governments. They're replacing the Jews with their Christian abomination to destroy mankind. That's what they mean there with victory. Let the earth break forth into singing. Let the dead speak forth anthems of eternal praise to King Emmanuel. They're saying that he's going to raise people from the dead. No. Joseph Smith erected the religion, Brigham Young insurrected it, and I am resurrecting it. That's the resurrection of the Jews. The voice of Joseph Smith from the dust. The Book of Mormon, the voice from the dust. The Bible, the voice from the dust. And so redeemed out of their prison. Mormons are the ones in bondage to this church who need to be set free. For the Mormons shall go free. But he says prisoners. Because they're purposely manipulating the interpretation here. Fascinating. So then we get to sons of Levi. And so thus they combine it to present in his holy temple when it is finished a book containing the records of our dead, which shall be worthy of all acceptation. Your humble servant and never deviating friend, Joseph Smith. Oh my God, that's not how he signs. He doesn't finish, no. I have many things to say to you on this subject, but shall now close for the present and continue the subject another time. He's dead. Oh my God. Oh my God. Well, so, yeah, that's how you do research on exposing a forged document. Know your chronological order of events that are factual, not claimed. And know the correct factual information. Jewish, not Christian. So that if you see Christianity imposed, you know that that's an anachronism and that it does not represent the original author. Fascinating. So yeah, the sons of Levi are those Mormons who make it to Zion, and we again have a barbecue. We got to eat. But everybody, the whole temple rituals are now fulfilled. And so we can do it in remembrance of the fulfillment, you know, as a celebration holy day thing, you know, like a good burger. You know, barbecue as a holy day for New Zion. For the millennium, but we got to get there first. So that's all the sons of Levi are about, are those who survive the Holocaust that is coming and make it to Zion, and then we build the temple and Zion is established. That's really it. But if I just said, yeah, the sons of Levi are the temple in Zion, people would still interpret it with Christianity. So I had to go through this whole explanation and expose how to identify forged documents of Brigham Young. Well, it's just incredible. So yeah, I do have the full, complete works of Joseph in the first draft. There are multiple drafts that need to be made to it, and then footnoting, referencing. That is eventually planned, but that's a Zion project. That's, oh my God, you can see how backed up I am. And that is just the physical stuff. There's digital stuff, files as well. And that is a massive project for me, dear God. But yeah, this is what the church is doing. They're going to destroy America this year to get their kingdom, but it's going to backfire on them. It always does. The pit that you dig for others will be the pit that you yourself fall into. And so the church, by thinking they're going to destroy America and get their kingdom back here in Zion, with Governor Cox handing over the keys of authority to the church, that's a backup plan. If they can't force the federal government to give it to them, then they're going to destroy the federal government, as 3 Nephi chapter 7 says, and then Governor Cox will be the king of Utah, and he'll hand over the keys of authority immediately. That's why they're pushing to have him on the ballot, Lyman. So that Governor Cox will hand over the keys of government to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So we need to put that at the beginning of the video.